Ladies and gentlemen, yes, this is your favorite show, Sports Unfolded, with your favorite hosts, Eric and Ron.
Okay.
Welcome to NHL Preview Kickoff. What a start to this show already. Hey, you're going, today's not Friday. And that's right, because it's our NHL 2023 preview show. We are going to tell you about the teams, some of the key players, and at the end of the show, we will pick our Stanley Cup winner, and we'll talk about some notable free agents that are possibly out there. I am your host, Eric, my main man, Ron, over there. How are you?
I'm a little grumpy. I'm not gonna lie, Eric.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
little bit
Grumpy
grumpy.
Ron's always the best Ron for these shows.
Look, I'm saying that there's probably going to be like 25 cities that are not sending me.
I am
Christmas card
shocked.
this year.
I am shocked because that doesn't happen very often.
No, not very.
So basically, how we're going to do this, we're going to go from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference. We will end with our local team, the Boston Bruins, to finish us off before we get into our Stanley Cup Finals picks. So we're going to start off in the Pacific, Ron. Those teams are the Golden Knights, so Vegas, the defending champions, the Edmonton Oilers, the Los Angeles Kings, the Seattle Kraken, Calgary Flames, Vancouver Canucks. We're going to bring those teams up for you. The San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks. So let's bring those teams up, and then let's start with the Vegas Golden Knights, the defending champions, 52-22-9 last year, 3.26 goals for, 2.74 goals against, kind of middle of the ground when it comes to the power play and the penalty kills. Bruce Cassidy is their coach. Ron, what can you tell us about the Vegas Golden Knights?
Well, they certainly showed up when they needed to. I mean, there's something to be said about that, right?
And realizing they're not even on the picture. That's hilarious.
The what?
They're not even on the picture.
That's they don't need to be, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's how good they are.
Look, this team has, some quality players. I mean, you're talking Mark Stone,
Jack Eichel.
What was that?
Jack Eichel.
Yeah. I mean, look, Eichel, Barbashev, and Marchessault, that first line. Look, that's just a powerhouse line, right? I mean, they did everything that was asked of them, especially in that postseason, where I mean, everybody was really looking to teams like Colorado, and somebody forgot all about Vegas.
Yeah,
and
listen, Vegas
stayed just part of that too.
Yeah, Vegas stayed very consistent throughout the year. I mean, they had a spurt in the middle where they kind of fell a little bit, but they were one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and then in the playoffs, they made sure they took care of business. Do they have a hiccup though, Ron? Is this a team you feel built to possibly make another run and win it again?
Well,
not that we're making predictions at this point, but just saying.
You look at some of the changes that they made. They didn't really pick up notable players, right? It was all, filler, pretty much. They're gonna be. They got a young kid, playing on that second line this year. He had 6 goals, 7 assists, last season. So, I mean, they're hoping for a massive upgrade. I mean, when you're playing with Stone and Stevenson, though, I mean, there's a good chance of that, right? You're having the opportunity. And it's whether or not he can put it together, because not every player capitalizes on their opportunities. And they're hoping he does. But it's an all 4-line team. It's like they all do their jobs. They go in there. And that is something to be said about Cassidy. Like, we got on Cassidy, when The door hit him in the butt on the way out of Boston, because with the youth coming in, he's more of a veteran guy.
Yeah, and
And
you
that's
yeah,
what this team had a lot
yeah,
of.
yep,
And they were role players, and he got them to do what he needed them to do.
yeah. Average
And he
age
was the right
basically.
coach at the right time.
Yeah, average age on this team's about 28. And if you
Right.
look at it, they're built to win. But I mean, some of these guys, Eichel's not a free agent for 3 years, Stone for 4, Carlson for 4, Barbashev for 5. So they're going to be around for a while together.
Right.
That bodes well for them. Again, can Cassidy continue to coach them up? Again, I think with the veterans, you should be okay. What about goaltending, real quick, Ron? You feel confident with the goaltending they have? Aiden,
Yeah,
Logan, and that
that
might
is the most important thing, right, for the postseason. And between Aiden Hill and Logan Thompson, I think they got themselves two quality goaltenders. Hill with a 914 save percentage, and Logan Thompson with a 915. So when you look at those numbers, that's what I really look at, is that save percentage, because the goals against average is it's just what your team is, right? But that save percentage is important because, you know, when you get the pressure on you, if that percentage is above 91%,
yeah,
that's a pretty good goaltender.
yeah,
And, they're going to bail you out of trouble more often than not.
yeah.
And that is the indication here that they got two good ones.
Yeah, and to your point, playoff experience now, right? Championship experience.
Right.
How far that goes. This is going to be an interesting division, though, because you also got. We're going to talk about this next team, the Edmonton Oilers, right? 23-9 last year.
Yep.
3.96 goals for, which was the best in the NHL.
Yeah.
3.12 goals against, which we said would be a problem, right? They still, goaltending could be an issue, and they ran into that problem in the playoffs. They were the number one team in the power play at 32.4%. So obviously they get the man advantage. They're going to take it, and score with it. Jay Woodcroft is their coach. One key add here, they added right winger Connor Brown from Washington on a 1-year, $4 million deal.
Right.
Can this team finally put it together, Ron, and get, win the cup, like get to the Stanley Cup and win it? With the players that you're talking about, the best player in the league and Connor McDavid, right? And then you got Draisaitl, who's his running mate, who just seems to.
And you look at this team, top to bottom. I mean, you would think with all those goals, everything is all roses, right? But then you look, okay, so they have that first line with McDavid and Kane and Brown. Well, Connor Brown didn't have any goals last year. He had 4 games played, I believe. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get from this guy.
Yeah.
They're just hoping that he knocks a couple of goals in, off his butt cheek from McDavid passing to him, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And then you have Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Hyman, which I actually think is the better line. Not saying that McDavid isn't the best player, but that's the better line. But after that, it's a complete cliff dive after that. Like the rest of the team is
so they're top heavy. Yeah, top heavy. And then we still talk about Jack Campbell as their goalie, and then Stuart Skinner.
Awful.
So again, how can they improve, Ron?
See, Skinner is going to be good in the regular season. As soon as that playoff starts, that's it. He's a mess.
Is this almost like
Campbell was just bad from start to beginning?
We talked about this on the show on Friday. Tampa Bay Rays, right? Kind of built for the regular season.
Yep.
Similar with the Edmonton Oilers here, right? They're kind of built for the regular season. They're
Yep.
good enough to be one of those top contending teams. And then when everything gets a little tighter, where you're going to face the better goaltenders, you're going to face the better defensemen, right? Now all of a sudden it changes because you can't put up the 4 goals a game,
right? And
you're losing these games.
It works on the other side too with their defense. Now I like the defensemen that they have on the team, but the problem is they don't have the defenseman on the team.
Yeah, just Nurse.
You have Nurse and Ceci. They're good, but not great. If you want to win the Stanley Cup, you have to have a great one back there, and you have to have the goaltender in the pipes. And they don't have that. They don't have it. And therefore, sorry, Edmonton, you're going to be looking at the same thing over and over again.
All right, let's talk about the third team in this division now, the Los Angeles Kings. 47, 25, and 10 last year, 3.34 goals for, 3.10 goals against. So they played a lot of tight games.
Yeah.
Todd McKellen is their head coach. They were fourth in the power play as well, 25.3. So they're in the top 5 when it comes to man advantage. But another team didn't make a lot of moves, though, kind of just stayed packed with what they had.
Yeah, they picked up Cam Talbot, but he's going to be the backup. You know, Phoenix Copley, all but assured he was going to be the guy. You know, 24.
They got rid of Jonathan Quick,
that was going down the stretch. You know, he just took over, and you know, I like what they've built. They have a goaltender that can do it, right? They have Drew Doughty, fantastic defenseman, right? 9 goals, 43 assists, a plus 12, and then they have Michael Anderson. I mean, you know, Mr. Anderson was a plus 20 for them. You know, guess what? He's 24 years old.
Yeah, and he signed
He's only going to get better.
8-year deal for him, so he's there for a while. He's there for the long haul.
They got a nice defensive core built right there, and then you know when you throw in guys like Kopitar, Kempe, you know, Fiala, and Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Fancy.
You know,
we'll get a lot of that on tonight's show.
Look, you have a good core group of players. This team can be dangerous.
Is the issue, though, again, you're facing an Edmonton who's obviously high impact offense. Vegas, who, again, seems like they have, you know, 3 possible solid lines throughout, right? If not, you know, more. Is this why the Kings are kind of where they're at? They're that like third tier in this division.
Yeah, I would put them on the 3 spot exactly, and they are much better than everybody else in the division except for the 2 teams ahead of them, right? And but playoff time, this team could pull out of that whole division. You know, I mean, it's that good.
Yeah,
it's that good.
Yeah,
I like the way they're building this team.
Yeah, young goaltender. Let's see how he basically performs now. You know, the job's his.
Yeah,
right.
It is his.
Quick's gone. It's his job. You know, they were very lucky. They had Jonathan Quick for quite a long time. I mean, obviously towards the end of his career here, you know, he's not been as good, but again, he was a solid goaltender for many, many years for this team.
And he probably taught the kid, right? I mean,
I hope so. If he's
Jonathan Quick was one of the better goaltenders, you know, for quite a while. You know, I mean, he's a champion, and you know, look, Copley learned a lot from him, and there's no doubting that. And yeah, you know, Quick is a little long in the tooth, but he can still bring something, you know, to any organization because of his experience.
Especially,
he must have taught this kid really well. And I'll tell you, Copley is just fantastic. I think he's going to be one of the best in a couple of years.
Nice,
if not already.
Okay. All right, we'll keep our eye on that one. Seattle Kraken, 4th team in the division last year, 46, 28, and 8. 3.52 goals for, which you think about, they were a high offense team, but 3.07 goals against. Again, middle of the ground, 21st in both penalties, kill and power plays. Dave Haxtell is their coach. Only big addition I saw was the Brian Dumoulin, defenseman from Pittsburgh. 2 years, $6.3 million. Again, this was a surprise team. We didn't expect them to make the playoffs. They did. How do they build on that run this season?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, right? Because they were just that good, you know, right away. I mean, you're looking at how many years they've been around.
Yeah,
you know, and I'll tell you, Matty Beniers, man, what a what a good
right?
player
Young
he
rookie.
is.
Yeah.
Ooh, man. You know, if they have him for quite a while, they're in good hands,
He's
right?
actually a restricted free agent after this year. So
Yeah.
obviously he'll get a max deal
Yeah,
based on what he's done.
absolutely. And he's going to be with McCann and Eberle. That's a good, solid line, but that is what they have. They have that line, and you know, I'm not even sure Ron Francis really expected this team to be where they were, you know, and I fully expected Ron Francis to be getting like a high draft pick this offseason, and that wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, again,
So,
to your
but
point, they overachieved.
you know, it's overachieving. But if they play like their GM, there's nothing wrong with that because Ron Francis, you know, laid it all out there on the ice, and that's what this team did. They have his persona, and his fingerprints are all over this team.
Yeah. Look, I think most people, you can't be surprised by him now. At this point, you know they're going to play you tough.
Yeah,
Again, they have the ability to score 3.52 goals per
yeah,
game is not something to
yeah. Like the defense,
shy away
Adam
from.
Larson was a plus 27. You know, 8 goals, 25 assists. That to me, expected, right? What you don't expect is a guy like Vince Dunn to go plus 28 with 14 goals and 50 assists. And to me, that's where this team was solid. It was that defense. You know, I mean, Grubauer was okay in net, but his save percentage was only 895. So it wasn't like, whoa, look at these numbers. But that defense made it so that way they didn't get a lot of shots.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's look at the Calgary Flames here, Ron. Again, kind of disappointing season
Oh,
last
wow,
year.
were they?
38, 27, 17. They were only a +8 in the point differential. So you think about it, they averaged 3.1 goals per game. They gave up 3.01 goals per game. So they
Yeah,
were in every game was
not going to
basically
get it done, right?
very close. Ryan Huska is the new head coach. It'll be
Yep.
his first year. Very good on the penalty kill. They were 82.6%, top 5 in the league. What went wrong, and how does Huska change this team to become what we expected them to be?
Yeah, it was to me a really big surprise that they weren't very good, especially early in the season. They were just horrible. They tried to put it together a little bit, you know, through the course of the season. When you have guys like Huberdeau with only 15 goals, 40 assists, that's to me, that's the problem right there. Put it mostly on his shoulders because he was supposed to be the guy.
Yeah.
And then Kadri,
Audrey.
you know, hey, look, he had 24 goals and 32 assists. That's pretty good, you know, especially for your second line. So, I mean, you really got to look, it's that first line. It's that first line. It's got to be better. They were just awful. They
Yeah,
did
Huberdeau
not
went over.
play
We
like they were
expected him to,
supposed
yeah,
to.
right. Huberdeau went over. That was that Florida deal where they kind of both swapped,
Yep.
some of their stars, and we're like, oh, well, Calgary be fine, and somehow it didn't mesh in
No,
Calgary.
it didn't. It didn't go very well.
Now, new
And I
coach
like.
comes in. Does that change the attitude and maybe the
I think
perspective
it
for this team?
will. I think it will, and I mean, time will tell if it'll pan out to be back to the playoffs. But I mean, you're looking at the roster, and it's like this roster should be a playoff team. I mean, you have Markstrom in net, but he was not good. He was bad.
Yeah.
An 892 save percentage, even though his goals against was 2.92, that's not that good. It's not good. And he didn't bail him out. He didn't bail him out.
Yeah,
You got to
listen,
make a big save at some point.
yeah. Obviously, you have the horses when it comes to defense. If you're in the top 5 in the penalty kill,
Yeah.
you need a guy in the pipes that's going to be able to protect that part of it. And then to your point, listen, you got to get some of those key guys to score. And right now, I don't know if we got to see what this new coach brings. Sometimes that new coach, new attitude. We saw it in Vegas. Yes, Bruce Cassidy was established.
Yep.
But again, changed the whole mentality.
Yeah, you also saw it in Boston, vice versa, even though they completely collapsed in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Jim Montgomery. So, yeah, good call. Vancouver Canucks, 38, 37, and 7. Uh, 3.29 goals for, 3.60 goals against. That's not very good if you're, marking this at home. Rick Tocchet, their head coach, they were worst in the league in penalty kills, 71.6%. They did add defenseman Carson Soucy, 3 years, 9.75 million. He was formerly with Seattle.
Yep.
What's going on with this team, Ron? Can they finally get back to respectability?
Well, the problem is exactly what is going to happen with this team. Are they going to start trading some players away? And that is what could actually sink this team because, like, I think the team is pretty good. But for some reason, they weren't meshing together, last season. And I had high hopes for this team,
Oh, right. We
last
talked about
season.
JT Miller being on that trade block for a while. That
Right.
might happen. So
And if they trade him, I mean that's it, right? I mean, you have to think that they would probably trade some others as well. But like when you look at the players on this team, Patterson, Connor Garland, Kuzmenko, that's a good. And then of course JT Miller. And then you look at on the blue line, Quinn Hughes is one of the best in the league. And it's like, how is this team not doing it? How did they not make the playoffs? And I think out of all the playoff teams in the league, this is the most biggest disappointment, even beyond Calgary, because I think this team has a couple of like legitimate all stars, at least 4 or 5 of them, and they just can't put it together. I don't know if they just lack heart or if they just don't have a soul.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, you think so?
Vancouver. So again, to your point, a lot of talent.
Goaltending
Let's see.
isn't that great either, but I
Yeah,
mean, I look, their numbers are good. Well, Demko 902 and the Smith 905. I don't know if either one of them can do like the number one goalie thing. I think they're more backups. And if you
Yeah.
have 2 backups, you have no starter.
yeah. That's usually how that works. Very good.
Yep.
So let's look at a team that obviously is in a rebuild and kind of did a lot of different things. And that was San Jose, the Sharks. 22, 44, and 16 last year. 2.84 goals against, 3.84 goals against. I'm sorry, 2.84 goals for. So basically, they were losing every game by at least a goal. David
Well,
Quinn's
yeah,
their
that's
head
what
coach.
usually happens. You have to lose by at least a goal.
Yeah, but they averaged a goal. Like they didn't even like it. It was a full goal that they averaged.
Yeah.
Big ad here for Kyle Burrows, 3 years, 3.3 million from Vancouver. They kept Mackenzie Blackwood, the goalie, 2-year, 4.7 million, and Fabian Zetterlund, 2-year, 2.9 million left winger. So they tried to keep some of the guys they had. Nothing crazy. They didn't add anybody really big. Ron, is this going to be like deja vu for the San Jose Sharks right now? Do you see any hope?
I see a big step back, to be honest with you. I would not be surprised if they end up trading Thomas Hurdle as well, because they just don't have much to really put around him. I mean, Barabanov is probably your next guy to Thomas Hurdle, and he's got 15 goals, 32 assists last season. That's ouch.
Yeah.
That's an ouch. It's going to be a long year for San Jose.
Do they trade Hurdle? Do you think that's a strong possibility, or is it more of if they're depending on their record?
Yeah, because I think that if they, depending on what people offer, because somebody's going to try to offer them something, and I mean he's worth going after, but is he worth keeping there?
Yeah, yeah. So look, he's got a 7-year contract.
To stay there.
7-year contract. Again, he's you know what I mean. Been a big part of this team now. Where does he want to stay though? Do you want to have to go through this rebuild for a couple years?
Right. And I mean, they are not even close right now.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of a team that's not close, Anaheim
uh,
Ducks, 23, 47, and 12 last year. Point differential, Ron, 129 in the point differential. 2.51 goals for, 4.09 goals against. That's not very good that's a goal and a half, Ron, per game you're losing.
yeah, they were pretty bad.
Yeah, they added a couple pieces, though. Alexander Killorn,
Killorn from Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, 4 years, 25 million center. Jason Zucker.
Yeah, but he's out for 5 weeks.
So that, okay. Jason Zucker, they added from Pittsburgh, left winger, 1 year, 5.3 million. And
Good pickup.
Radko Gudas, 3 years, 12 million, defenseman from Florida.
Good pickup.
What's happening with the Anaheim? Like, do we see them at least improving?
I think they're better.
Are they still the worst team in this?
Cologne is going to be out for a little while, but I think that's a good pickup if he was playing.
Yeah.
But they also got Leo Carlson in the draft, so
he's injured too.
He's slated to start. Be on that number 1 line with Zegras and Terry, and he's going to get an opportunity for sure.
Well, he's on the injury list as well.
Oh well, see, there you go. Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, I guess so, man.
Little high and a little low.
One of the highest paid players, Troy Terry, right winger, 26 years old. So again, you're looking at obviously he's got right.
It's a good young core, though.
Yeah. So listen, they're doing some things.
Staylock, they're goaltenders.
I guess some of the positives, right? They're not like Arizona, where your team didn't even know if they had a home, right? So they're kind of established where they are right now. Can they build a young team? Greg Cronin is their coach. Again, how long do you stick with him? They were 31st in power play and 31st in penalty kills. So, I mean, it wasn't either special teams that played well for them.
No.
They need to figure it out and sooner than later. I don't know how long I mean, if you're losing by a goal and a half, almost on average per game, that means you're probably losing 2 to 3 goals at some time.
They got what they need to do is they need to hit on another kid, right? So they need to hit on not just Carlson. If Carlson pans out, they have to hit on another one. If you can hit on another one, then you have what could be 2 lines.
You need to say DJ Khaled after every time you say another one, by the way. Yeah, look, you're right. Though, honestly, how do they build it? I mean, because to me, it seems like that's their mentality is going to be build it from, the young kids up and see if you eventually put a piece in.
That's why they went out and signed Killorn, because of the history of Stanley Cups, right? So you go get that guy, and he tutors those young players to learn how to become a champion.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why they signed Killorn. And, it's just bad that now he's not going to be there for a few weeks. And, that's going to stunt the growth of the kids. But
I'd also give him an opportunity.
It's going to work out.
Yeah. Listen, more time on the ice, right, could benefit them at some point. All right, my friend.
They obviously have at least an eye for some talent, right?
Yeah. That was the Pacific Division. We are going to move on to the Central here in the Western Conference. I'll bring those teams up really quick. Hopefully all the teams are on there. Colorado Avalanche, Dallas Stars, Minnesota Wild, Winnipeg Jets, the Nashville Predators, St. Louis Blues, the Arizona Coyotes, and the Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, they did leave somebody off. There's only 7 teams there.
Yes, I don't know what's going on with this. We got to talk to the graphic guy. Let's start off with those Colorado Avalanche. 51, 24, and 7 last season. 3.34 goals for, 2.72 goals against. Jared Bernard is their head coach. They were 6th in power play at 24.5%. Didn't add much. Miles Wood, left winger from New Jersey, 6 years, 15 million. Ron, this team as well, you kind of was extremely high on them during the course of the season, and then kind of had a little bit of a playoff letdown Your thoughts on the Colorado Avalanche?
Well, they did also get Tomas Tatar
Oh, he did sign. I could cross him off.
From New
Notable
Jersey.
free agents. Notable free agents, buddy. That was on that list. Tomas Tatar off the list. Okay. So, okay, the big pickup there.
Yeah, I mean, they just plucked him from New Jersey. So,
yeah, 1 year deal, $1.5 million.
Wow. It's a good pickup. You know, he's probably going to be on that third line with Colton and Wood.
Yeah,
who you just mentioned a moment ago. I believe you mentioned.
Yeah, Miles Wood. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty good line. A third line when you're getting 49 goals from your third line, that's pretty decent.
But to your point, right? Is this a team now? McKinnon considered one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
Right. You got Rat Tatton. Right. Again, another solid player. Makar, another guy that we've talked about a lot in what he means to the team. They have the pieces, right? They have the house, the horses to do this.
Yeah, but they all have to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And let's face it, when you're looking at Nathan McKinnon, he hasn't exactly stayed healthy. It's always a lot of like nagging things that are out a couple of weeks, you know, but that starts taking its toll after a while. It takes its toll on the chemistry of the team, because then you're moving guys all around and nobody gets set, because by the time you get set, then he goes out with another, 2 weeks for this and a week for that. It does add up. But if he's in there, I mean, this is a good team.
Yeah.
But they now have, a couple more guys to plug in there. After losing like Kadri and all these changes, it should settle down. I think this team is ready to get going and try it again. I mean, but
to your point, they have the horses, man. They have the guys staying healthy.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. McKinnon missed a big stretch of time towards the end of the year too, that obviously affected them.
He still had 42 goals.
Yeah. Yeah. So imagine if he stays healthy, huh? What a performance that could be. Let's talk a little bit about the Dallas Stars, Ron, because this team has always been interesting to me. Because every year we sit back and we start to talk about them and what they are defensively. Again, definitely one of the top 5 goaltenders in the league. So why do they struggle when they do and not be able to advance in the playoffs? So 47, 21, and 14 last year, 3.41 goals for, 2.62 goals against. They were 3rd in the penalty kill, 83.5, and 5th in power play. So again, special teams, look, they give them a man advantage or disadvantage, they're still shutting you down, or they're scoring. Peter Dubois is their head coach. I didn't get any big ads here. Did something happen there? And then I would ask you, is this the year? Look, they got Tyler Seguin, former Boston Bruin, right? That move before, but he seems like he's one of the guys. Jamie Benn. So they've got guys that have been around, done things, have been successful in the league. Ottinger is obviously one of the best goalies in the league. Why the struggle in the playoffs, Ron? And can they finally get over that hurdle?
3rd and 4th line was their problem. The 3rd and 4th line. Look, we know in the playoffs, you have to have that depth. You have to have that 3rd line that cranks, and the 4th line is got to be a menace, right? That's how you win the Stanley Cup. And when you looked at Vegas and Florida, what those two teams had in common was those 3rd and 4th lines were firing on all cylinders, and they were contributing. You don't get a contributor, you don't get anywhere. Well, they had Seguin on their 3rd line, but there was nobody to get him the puck. Well, so what they did, they went out and got Matt Duchene to center that 3rd line, and then they went out and got Craig Smith, former Boston Bruin, to play on that 4th line. And Craig Smith is a talented guy. He's just been snake bitten in the last few years, but he's got some skill. And being on that fourth line there, it should pay dividends for Dallas because they're so balanced from top to bottom now.
Mhm.
I mean, when you had Duchesne is going to be centering Sagan and Marchman, I mean, there's 55 goals combined there for a third line. And we just said, the 49 goals from, I don't remember who it was, might have been LA. But that was pretty good. But this is even better. If all pans out with this line should be a contributor in that playoffs. And um, I think this team improved greatly.
All right. My friend Minnesota Wild here. 46, 25, and 11. 2.91 goals for, 2.67 goals against. Dean Everson is their head coach. Obviously, we know about some of their, top players here and what they've done in Kasperzov, Kaprizov. I always say his name wrong. Krill the Thrill, right? Isn't that his nickname? Right. So again, what he's meant in the league and some of the things he's done. This is a good team, Ron. Are they a championship caliber team? Can they get past what they've done?
I think they could, and it's because of those guys in net. I mean, first of all, you have Fleury there that is a champion. And then you have Gustafsson with a 2.10, a 931 save percentage.
Right, that's pretty impressive.
22-9 last season. 22-9. I mean, that should be enough.
Yeah.
And I think the team is good enough to make a push. I don't know if they can put over the top, maybe see what happens at the trade deadline. I think they're going to be in position to do something at the trade deadline. I mean, when you got Kaprizov, I mean, personally, I think he's the Western Conference's Pasternak. I mean, he's good. I mean, he's just as talented as Pasternak is. And you have Hartman and Zuccarello centering that line. That's pretty good, And then you have Eriksson and Boldy and Johansson on that second line. They had 73 goals combined last year. That's pretty good. You have two solid lines. You gotta make sure that third and fourth line steps up, and that might be where they go out and try to improve the team.
Yeah.
If they can do that, they got a shot at winning it.
Yeah. It is getting cold, James. Yes, hockey season is right around the corner. Opening night tomorrow night.
No,
if you just,
I'm thinking, I'm like saying a lot of good things about some of these teams.
Yeah,
I'm not doing a good enough job on stopping Christmas cards.
Yeah, so far you're getting a lot of Christmas cards. I will say this: if you're joining us live, thank you, James Kenny. This is the Sports Unfolded 2023 NHL preview show. We are normally on every Friday night at 6 p.m., but we decided, hey, let's break down all the NHL teams for you before the season opens tomorrow and let you know our picks. So at the end of the show, we will give you our picks. We are on the Western Conference Central Division and moving on to the Winnipeg Jets, 46, 33, and 3 last year. Ron, 3 goals for, 2.73 goals against. Top 10 in the penalty kills, 82.4%. Rick Bowness is their head coach. What can you tell us about Winnipeg?
They're about to unload everybody. So
the run they had last year.
Look, to be honest with you, if I was a Winnipeg Jet fan, I'd be PO'd because you have a good core group of players here. You already let Blake Wheeler go. And now they're talking about Scheifele. They're talking about what's his face?
Kyle Connor.
Yes. Yeah. Look, really, you have a good team, and you're just gonna squander it because you don't want to get the extra players that they need.
Well, you're looking at Scheifele, $6.125 million this season, jumps to 8.5 next season. He's 30
Right.
years old. So from an age standpoint, they're probably looking at, again, how much more is left in the tank. He's signed to an 8-year deal. So
Yeah, but you know
it's
what?
looking 38 years old.
You're going to have to pay his contract anyway when you trade him, because nobody's going to trade for him when he's got that salary, because nobody can fit him in the cap. And I know they've been talking about the Bruins getting him. And look, they're not going to pay him. You're going to have to eat most of that salary. So when you trade him, you're eating it anyway. So why not keep him and get a guy that can add to this team and do something instead of that half-hearted crap that you did at the deadline to make it look like you were trying to do something when you really weren't.
Yeah. And again, Hellebuck,
embarrassed.
Connor Hellebuck, one of the best goaltenders in the league as well.
What a waste.
Right? That you're going to waste that. You got a 30, he's 30. So you're talking another 5-6 years of probably him being one of the
top. The team. You got to the team that really got me annoyed.
Here we go. No Christmas cards from Winnipeg.
I don't want them.
Again, we during our NHL top 10, they were on there consistently all year. Does this team fall off now, Ron? Especially if you're talking about some of the moves you're talking about them making, obviously would drastically change the dimension dynamics of this team.
Look, I mean,
that's the analyst I want right there. You don't get that kind of information from any other sports talk show. Winnipeg. Okay, that's all you need to know.
No, that's all they deserve, to be honest with you, Eric. Because this had a team. This was a team that was built for the playoffs, right? It was built for the playoffs, and now they're dismantling it, starting from scratch yet again. And frankly, I don't get it. It's like if you just want to have a bad team, then just let your fans know that we're just going to keep trading everybody away. We have great players that always come through the doors, but we're going to send them right back out because we don't want to be winners.
Yeah. All right, my friend, let's try to upset some more cities. Let's talk Nashville. Nashville Predators 42-32-8 last season, 2.71 goals for, 2.82 goals against. Top 6, so they were 6th overall in the penalty kill, 82.5%. Andrew Brunette, new head coach, so they made a change at coach as well. This team added a lot of players. Ryan O'Reilly, 4 years, $18 million. Luke Shen, 3 years.
Was that Baba O'Reilly?
No, I can't even say that because we don't get paid. Luke Shen, 3 years, $8.25 million. The defenseman, and Gustav Nyquist, right winger from Minnesota, 2 years, $6.3 million. And they kept in-house center Cody Glass, 2 years, $5 million. So they made some moves to kind of help improve the team. Riley automatically probably jumps to the starting line there. That first line.
Yeah.
What did they do enough, Ron, to maybe possibly get into the playoffs?
I think they did. Look, first of all, the addition of Ryan O'Reilly, yes, he's a little older, but it's like picking up Patrice Bergeron, right?
32 years old, yeah.
It's like picking up Patrice Bergeron a few years ago. And that's what he brings. He's going to win some faceoffs. He's going to play solid two-way hockey. And he's going to be a leader for the players that are in that locker room. And
honestly, Ron, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would say this, right? Getting to know the player who has the experience with a new head coach, that may be the key, because now you got a guy that can communicate to the team effectively, which it'll help the head coach now be able to just kind of learn his role and what he needs to do to help the team win.
And that's why I wanted Patrice to stay one more year with these kids. And, that didn't happen. But
woulda, shoulda, coulda. We're moving on past that, my friend.
Yeah.
We're moving on past
with
that.
O'Reilly, he's going to send to Forsberg and Parsonen. I mean, it should be a pretty good line. I mean,
this team was a little bit of a disappointment last year.
6 goals, 19 assists. I'm not sure he's ready to make that leap to a first line, but they're going to give him an opportunity, and they're going to be better.
And then they have one of the top defensemen, right? And Josie.
Oh God, their defense is a whole nother.
So again,
Yossi and Shen, great defensive core. Great defensive core. Like I like what they've done. I've liked the pieces that they added, and Saros and net, with a .919 save percentage. He was 33-23. He could even do better this year. He's a good goaltender.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how Nashville. I think, to your point, they might have done more to improve and maybe knocked Winnipeg out of that spot.
That's definitely. Winnipeg is getting knocked out because they're going to unload players.
All right, I like it. Stay tuned towards the end of the show. We will give you our Stanley Cup picks. Who's going to make it, and which team will win it all. Let's move on to the St. Louis Blues, Ron. 37-38-7 last year. 3.17 goals for, 3.63 goals against. Greg Berube is their head coach. Not very good power play or penalty kills. I didn't see any big ads here. Is there anything? Is this team kind of just stagnant and staying where they're at?
No, they're not going to stay where they're at. They're going to get worse.
Hey, there it is. That's
right?
the guy.
Does that make you feel better?
That does.
Look,
he's back.
I look at this team, and Thomas and Kyrou. I mean, those are your stars, right? Buchnevich is also a good player. I mean, between the three of them, they had 81 goals, so that's pretty good. But from there, it starts dropping off drastically. And look, when we talk about that defense, Parayko was a -19, Krug a -26. I mean, all of their defense is getting paid $27 million for the 6 guys.
29.
And they are just dogs.
29.3, Ron.
Loved you in Boston, but you are playing like garbage.
35% of their payroll is going to, or their cap is going to defense.
Yeah.
And to your point, yeah, right?
And
you should be a lot better.
Not good.
I'm betting the house on the Blues. Here goes Kenny, all in on the Blues. You know what you're going to have afterwards? The Blues, my friend.
Yeah, you're going to have the Blues, because if you're going to trust Binnington with an .894 save percentage with that defense, you're begging for trouble. And they are going to take a step back. And they only beat out 2 teams last year.
Yeah. So one of those teams they beat out was the Arizona Coyotes, 28-40-14, 2.74 goals for, 3.60 goals against. Andre I'm going to mess this up. Tariq. Who's the head coach? Ron, just say the name. Tariq. I can't.
Go ahead.
Tarigny?
Yeah, okay.
All right. The bottom end of the barrel when it came to power play and penalty kills. They did add Matthew Dumba, 1 year, $3.9 million, defenseman from Minnesota, and Alexander Kerfoot, defenseman from Toronto, 2 years, $7 million.
Forward.
Is he a forward? Yeah. So, again, just nothing big here. Arizona finally got I think a home. They've got like a TV deal now. What else do they have? What should Coyote fans look forward to?
What they have is actually something to look forward to. I actually like some of these players. I like Keller.
These guys to play in Hartford.
I like Schmaltz. It sounds like something like some sort of a beer beverage.
Yeah, you get
Schmaltz.
Schmaltz liquor.
Schmaltz liquor, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Hayton.
Who you hating on?
19 goals, 24 assists. And
who you hating on? You hating on him?
No.
Barrett Hayton?
No, I actually kind of like this team. I
Young,
like what
scrappy
they built.
Team? Goaltending could be an issue.
Good line.
goaltending, possibly.
Yeah, no, they need a goaltender
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah.
Vejmelka, 899 save percentage, 3.43. Went 18 and 24.
Hey,
Not
okay.
bad for Arizona.
Yeah.
Ingram is the other guy. It's
Yeah.
907 save percentage. So maybe he can wrestle, the job away.
James he drinks a Schultz beer and watches these guys play hockey. So there you go. There we go. Let's get some
No,
Schultz.
look. I do like what they're doing. Yes, I know. I understand that they've given up a lot of talent throughout the years, but you have to build this core. They have a good first line. That first line can do a lot of damage to other teams, and I actually have them improving this year.
Well, you can't go. I can't get much worse. I would hope.
Well, with Matt Dumba, signing Dumba and Kerfoot to me signifies that they're trying to get better.
Yeah, and I would say this, Ron. Honestly, I think them finally getting an organization to figure out where you're going to be. You know, what I mean, that's a big piece because again, these players never had security. When who knew what this team was, where they were going to go,
Right.
or what was going to happen.
Right.
So, all right, my friend. Last team here in the West, we're going to talk about the Chicago Blackhawks. Very interesting team because a lot happened. I think they're on tomorrow night, opening night on that 4-letter, because they want to really push their rookie.
Wait, no, don't they open Boston against Boston on
There's
Wednesday?
no, it showed Pittsburgh. They did a whole commercial with him and who's the dude in Pittsburgh? Oh my goodness. Why am I drawing a blank?
Sydney?
Yes, Sidney
Or
Crosby.
Malkin?
No, Sidney Crosby. 26, 49, and 7 last year, 2.46 goals for, 3.65 goals against. Luke Richardson is their head coach. Obviously, the bottom of the barrel here when we talked about power play and penalty kills. They did sign Ryan Donato, 2 years, $4 million, the center from Seattle. But obviously, the big talk is the rookie.
Ryan Donato is such crap. Oh,
Holy
my God.
cow, my friend. Wow.
Like, he's been on, 20 teams in the last 4 seasons. I swear to God, it's always the team, right? It's always the team's fault. Oh, I'm not getting enough playing time. Oh, he stinks. He's not even half the player his father was.
Okay. So, obviously, the big story here, right? Connor Bedard, the rookie, right? They're really trying to hype him up. They think he could be the next coming of the Gretzkys and that line of just, superstar players. They did make a trade here. They got Taylor Hall right from Boston. So they're trying to put some pieces together, right? They put some pieces together, Ron. Obviously, they've got to get better, no?
Maybe. Connor Bedard is going to center, with probably with Taylor Hall. Probably going to be on his line. I don't know who else is going to be on that line. Maybe Athanasiou.
I'm happy to see you too.
See how I served that one up to you?
Yeah, that was really
nice
thank
little
you,
lob. They have Radish.
We call that in the
20
industry an
goals.
alley-oop. Good job.
Yep. But the problem is going to be on that defensive side of the ice, and Seth Jones was just a train wreck last year. Minus 38. 12 goals, 25 assists was not even good offensively for him. And he's really the reason why they stunk so much. You gotta do your job. Do your job. And it was awful. Minus 38. How are you a minus 38?
Highest paid player on the team, 11.4% towards the cap.
Garbage.
So, yeah, $9.5 million a year. To your point, right? You
took the money and just went on vacation with it.
Locked in for 7 years on him too. So,
yep, nobody wants him.
Nobody wants him. So I will ask you this: do you believe in the hype, at least with Bedard? I'm not saying. Look, obviously we say Gretz. I'm not saying Gretz, but is this kid? Could he be the next? you
He
know,
could, but
big star that we're you're
I
clamoring
mean,
for.
Taylor Hall is hoping for it.
I would help him, right?
And Taylor Hall is a good player to put on the side of him because he can get the job done. But again, when Taylor Hall is playing well, that's different than when he's not playing well and it seems like he's non-existent on the ice.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, my friend. That was the Western Conference. We are going to talk some Eastern Conference here. And then we'll go into some free agents, notable free agents, and if they're going to sign. We'll give you our picks at the end of the show. Once again, NHL preview show 2023. We are breaking down all the teams and giving you who we think is going to win the entire thing. Here's a team I know you're definitely going to be excited to talk about. We'll start off in the Metropolitan here, and that's going to be the Carolina Hurricanes. 52, 21, and 9 last season. 3.20 goals for, 2.55 goals against. Second best in the NHL in the penalty kills last season, 84.4%. Ron Brindamore is their coach. They signed Dmitry Orlov to 2 years, $15.5 million, obviously from Boston. They kept Frederick Anderson 2 years, $6.8 million, and Jasper Fast 2 years at $4.8 million, the right winger. I know you had high hopes for this team, Ron. The expectations were so high. And again, just Florida, for some reason, decided they were going to do something nobody expected them to do a few times in the playoffs. Is this still that team to beat in the East, Ron? Are they still one of those top contending teams?
I still think so. But now you have a much angrier Carolina Hurricanes after being basically embarrassed by Florida. Like, Bruins lost to them, yes. But Carolina Hurricanes were
Yeah,
embarrassed.
were they swept? Did they get? They won 5 games, right? It was swept. Yeah,
they were just horrible, and it really didn't even look like they were in the series. it's like they said, "Oh, we got this. This is not a problem. It's only Florida," and nobody showed up. No one showed up, and I think that's why they made a big change in going out and get 2 defensemen, because they got bullied for one thing. Basically, that's how Florida got to the Stanley Cup. That's basically how they got there.
So, do we think Anderson the answer though? Is that the guy that can bring this team to the Stanley Cup? Is that the problem? Because again, you look at it from an offensive standpoint. They got Aho, who's again one of the top players in the league. Now you pick up Orlov, who's one of the top defensemen in the league. Does it that goaltender is really probably the key right now for them?
Yeah.
Your confidence in Anderson to get the job done, I guess, is my question.
There's no confidence.
That's where, right? You tend to worry about this team.
It's got to be Ronta. It has to be, because it's not going to be Anderson. Look, we've already been down this road with him. When he was with Toronto, what happens? He'll be great during the season, and then he's a puddle of mess when it comes to playoff time.
We're a family-friendly show. Good job, Ron.
Yeah, I cleaned it up.
Puddle
of mess. But that's what he does.
Yeah.
This is not anything new. What happened last year?
Yeah, but that's my point, right? Like, so we want to elevate them to say, look, they're probably one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference and should get there.
Right.
Is that goaltending going to hurt them? And people got to question that one piece. Did they do enough to go out and get themselves a top-notch goaltender? They didn't. They kept what they had, and they're hoping the guys in-house.
They have to lean on Ronta. And I'm looking. I mean, you picked up Orlov, and yes, you got Tony DeAngelo. Say what you want about him. Good offensive talent, but he's trouble.
They make a good sub. Nice grinders at DeAngelo's. No, that's a Northeast joke. If you get that one.
But this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this team, right? And you have Aho. They got Bunting now there from Toronto, and they have Jarvis on that first line. 73 goals combined. Okay, that's all right. Kotkaneni, Kotkaniemi, Kotkaniemi,
Yeah. Digesting
uh,
here.
Teravainen and Natchez, 58 goals. Like, it's not, this team isn't going to like wow you with like offense, right? But when you look at that defense, Slavin and Burns combined 25 goals, 63 assists. Sky and Pesci, 23 goals, 45 assists. And now you throw in Orloff and D'Angelo on the third pairing, 18 goals, 60 assists combined. That is a lot of offense for
A
defense.
defensive side.
And they don't substitute the defensive side either. I mean, that makes this the best defense in the league right here.
I
You
hope
know,
you're right. We'll see.
and I love that defense. They are going to be solid. You are going to have to earn goals there. Going to have to earn them. Except
So
when the playoffs come, and then you can just fill
yeah,
the net.
yeah. So another a very interesting team last year, New Jersey Devils, 52-22-8. I know you expected them to fall off a cliff, and they just continued to be
Yeah.
one of the dominant teams in the East. 3.52 goals for, 2.71 goals against, fourth best in the penalty kill, 82.6 percent last season. Lindy Ruff is their head coach.
Yep.
No big ads or anything that I saw. I could have missed something. That's why I have my hockey
Oh,
guy.
they have a huge ad.
Go ahead. No, I can't with you right now.
Tomas Nosek.
Okay. See, there we go. But again, the big trade at the deadline last year, right? Timo Meyer, they got him. Jack Hughes, in the season he had, Dougie Hamilton, right? They kind of we talked about, they picked up enough veterans and young guys that meshed really well together. So does this team do it again, Ron? Are they that kind of caliber team, or do we see them falling off a little bit? Just and then last year was more of a just a flash in the pan.
Yeah, last year I gave a lot of that credit to Palat and Tatar, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The
and
experience
they were
that they
hurt. Yeah,
brought to that team. Well, they gave up Tatar, so and I know I made fun of Tomas Nosek, just a wee bit.
no, not at all.
But there is something that he brings to the table, and that is, face-off wins. He's good on a face-off, and that is one of the areas that you know that could always improve, especially playoff time, right? That's really important, and maybe that is the one thing that they could use. And you give up on Tatar, but when you made the trade for Timo Meyer, you knew you were going to try to keep him, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, you can't keep everybody.
yeah. No, listen, they still got a good core of guys, and
Oh, they
it's
do, and
right.
you
You look
know,
at it from the forward standpoint. I like what they have defensively. You gotta wonder if they can bring that same energy. They just seem like every night this team was one of those teams, like, you just when you face them, they found a way to win. They found a way to win.
yeah. I
And
look, I
they
do like this team from top to bottom. Um, Noshik isn't going to give you like a powerhouse offense, right? But he's going to solidify that fourth line, and he's going to make it so that way that fourth line can put pressure on, because that's what he did bring as a Boston Bruin. He did have a lot of pressure on that defense, and they grinded it out on that fourth line. He can do that here, and that's gonna be good. That's what you want from a fourth line, right? You want him to grind and wear down that defense, and he can do that for you
yeah,
and win faceoffs. and then it puts pressure on the other team. And then when you get a goaltender like Schmid, who 2.13, 922 save percentage, no, that's some way you can start with. And then you have Vanacek, who has 911 save percentage. You have capable goaltenders because you have a capable defense, and that's what makes this team so dangerous. And when you got Hughes now, that's really starting to crank, and he's turning out to be a great player. You got these young guys, Hughes, Meyer, and Hischier, 43 goals, 40 goals, 31 goals, Bratt with 32. That is a good core, and it's young. And this team is going to be dangerous for at least another 3 or 4.
Yeah, look, you're right? 27, 22, Jack Hughes, 22 years old. Yep. You think about what he meant for them last year. So, no, I like what this team is. I think they've got some fight,
There's
some
just
fire.
One problem, Eric. They're in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good teams here. So, let's talk about another one. The New York Rangers, 47-13, 3.3 goals for, 2.6 goals against. Peter Laviolette Laviolette, new coach there, though. They made a change after the playoff fails. Top 10 in the power play as a team last season, 24.1%. Again, didn't see any big ads. I know you might have somebody because you see
Blake Wheeler.
Okay. So they lost some stuff. They got some stuff. They've got pieces here. Probably the best defenseman in the league, Adam Fox.
Oh, he's so good.
He's
so good.
Do they? I mean, can they just? What's the hurdle, Ron, that they need to jump over to be considered a Stanley Cup contender at this point?
They're gonna do it in the playoffs. That's all they have to do. At some point, it becomes a mind game, right? You know, this team has all the pieces. It has all the pieces. You have the goaltender, it's just Shesterkin, who I think is the best goaltender in the league.
Yeah.
You have Fox, who is what, top 3 defenseman in the league? You know?
Yep.
I mean, and then you have that offense with Kreider, Zibanejad, Kakko,
Panarin,
Chytil, Lafreniere, Trocheck, Wheeler. I mean, this team is a good team, and they just need to know it.
So, is this?
Know it.
Let me ask you this then: is the coaching change similar to what we might have seen with Vegas now with this team? Like, here's a guy that might be able to spark something.
Laviolette couldn't put them over the hurdle. They could put him over the hurdle. He can do it because he's a good coach. You know, he was
in the players
organization. He's been to places and he's a winner. Okay.
Yeah, they're loaded. They're loaded.
I love this team. I loved it last year, and you know, look, we were talking about all these teams. That's the same teams we're talking about last year.
Yeah, they didn't do anything to not be in this same breath as they were last season.
Right.
They were all they didn't lose.
They're going to go for it too. They're going to go for it because they know they're that close. You have the goaltender. When you have the goaltender and you have some offense and you have some defense, you're going to go for it. And this team is going to win a Stanley Cup within the next couple of years anyway. So
yeah,
it's ready. It's ready.
So we're going to talk about the Islanders now, Ron. New York hockey is really, they've got some players. They've got some teams. So the fans, if you're a fan of New York hockey, I mean, you're living a good life right now because you've got some players. Last season, the Islanders, 42-31-9, 2.94 goals for, 2.65 goals against, top 10 in penalty kills at 82.2%. Lane Lambert is the head coach. No big signings that I saw, but they did keep Scott Mayfield, 7 years, $24.5 million. Pierre Evingal, 7 years, $21 million. Pierre, right?
Engvall?
And then,
Engvall.
Engvall?
Yeah.
These hockey names. Engvall, 7 years, 21 million, and then Semyon Varlamov,
Yeah, the goaltender.
backup goaltender, 4 years, 11 million, right?
Yeah, 11 million for a backup goaltender.
Yeah, so they're pretty stout when it comes to goaltending as well, right? Because you got,
Yeah, I
again, one
like
of the
the
top 5.
goaltending. I mean, let's see if they can do it again. But I think this team underachieved 2 years ago. They looked really good last year. Sorokin, 924 save percentage. Varlamov, 913. They're getting the goaltending. That defense is probably the reason why. Pellick and Pulak, they're fantastic. Romanov and Dobson also played well, and Aho, the other Sebastian
Mhm.
Aho, had a really good season, a solid season on that third pairing. Yeah, I love the defense on this team. That defense is no joke. We talked
And,
about Carolina having the best. That is a solid defense,
and then you look at,
and it's just not as offensively
yeah,
talented as
yeah.
Carolina's, but
Mhm.
defensively, it's stout.
And again, right, you talk about a guy like Aho, like this may be their window closing though too, unrestricted free agent next year.
Yeah.
So you got to try to get something. Horvat they picked up last year at the
Yep.
deadline, right? That was a surprise move. I know you're not a big fan of Barzal in what he could be and what they consider,
He
right?
should be so much more.
Right. So again, can they get more production out of some of
Like,
these guys that
like
ends
they
up
always say, like Barzal, everybody missed on Barzal. Well, did they? Did they really? 14 goals. You know, I mean, is it really a miss? I mean, he's got a lot of talent. Let's he's super talented. But Boston always gets criticized that they missed on him. DeBrusque is better. I don't care what anybody says, DeBrusque is better. Barzal is not living up to the skill potential he has. This guy has got wheels. He's got a nice shot. He's got so much skill. And 14 goals? 14.
highest paid player on the team,
Shouldn't be.
right? So 9.1 million. You need to be able to produce, and I agree. And that locked in for 8 years on him and Horvat. So
And I'm
they've
going
got
to
that
hear it
core.
from Islander fans on that one. But you know what? I'm right. I'm right. You
Ron, when are
need
you
to
ever
you need
wrong,
to do
Ron?
more. They're not going to get anywhere unless he does more.
When are you ever
Show
wrong,
me
man?
25 to 30.
Agreed, my friend. Agreed. Pittsburgh Penguins missed the playoffs for the first time in a while, right? 40, 31, and 11, 3.18 goals for, 3.21 goals against. Mike Sullivan's their head coach. They had some good ads here, though. Ryan Graves, the defenseman from New Jersey, 6
Yep.
years, 27 million. Noel Akari, 3
Acciari.
years, 6 million. He's a center from Toronto. And Lars Ellier, 2 years, 4.9 million. Another center from Colorado.
Yeah,
Is this more of a aging team with health is going to be probably their biggest concern because they have guys that can score,
probably.
right?
That's
Malkin,
it.
Crosby,
Yeah,
37 and 36 respectively.
yeah.
One of them's going to miss some time. Do they have
Look,
enough guys
look. I mean,
behind them?
I hate to say it, but I think they'll improve because of those improvements.
Graves is a big pickup.
But yeah, no, getting Graves, big, huge move. Lars Eller, another huge move, shoring up that third line. Achari is going to be on that fourth line, and he's one of those guys that can put the puck in the net. But it's what season is it? Is it the one that he does well, or is it the one that he just plays like a fourth liner?
I think to your point though, too, you gotta look at concerns with the health. I mean,
Age.
again, Letang, 36, and we knew his concern, right? Bounced back from the cancer last season, was able to come back, right? What a great story that was. But you're starting to look at the age of these guys in 36, 37. You know what I mean? Jeff Carter, is a backup. He's 38.
You also got to worry a little bit defensively. And yes, I know they have Letang and all that, but he was a minus 13 last season. That is not the Letang
Yeah.
that we're used to,
And
right?
to your point, 36 years old. At some point,
Right.
things happen.
And he's slowing down. It's
Yeah.
showing.
Yeah,
And
so
I'm afraid that I'm expecting them to have a little bit of a boost, you know. I do like them slightly better than the Islanders. I love that Islander defense, though. But one injury can derail Pittsburgh. One
yeah,
injury.
yeah. And again, I think it's almost a
It's
foregone
almost a
conclusion.
certainty, right?
Yeah, it's a
It's
foregone
just how
conclusion.
long they're going to miss.
Yeah, exactly. How severe, how important, right? How big of an injury.
And I'll tell you, I'm looking at Jari. Like, I like his numbers, a 910 save percentage, 2.90. But that was really a product of having the offensive weapons, right? When you play in the other team's end, it's a lot harder to give up goals. But at some point, that talent is going to tail off, and I don't think Jari is as good as he needs to be. And I'm a little worried about this defense right
Yeah.
now.
No, I agree with you. They're going to be. Listen, they weren't happy about missing the playoffs. I forget what it was, 13 years straight or whatever it was.
Yeah, and Eric Carlson coming into the fold. Look, 25 goals, 76 assists. Awesome, right? How the hell are you minus 26? Do you not know what your defensive end is? Probably not.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about another team that missed the playoffs. And kind of a surprise was Washington Capitals, 35, 37, and 10, 3.09 goals for, 3.18 goals against. Spencer Carberry, he's brand new head coach as well. They did pick up Max Picciarelli, 1 year, $4 million left winger from Carolina after that injury, and he missed most of the season. Listen, they've got the best or second best goal scorer in the league.
Still not even in. He's not even ready to go. Pacioretty might not ever play for them.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's a 1 year deal. So again, they have the best goal scorer, second best goal scorer ever in the history of the NHL. But again, you're talking about a 30-year-old, you know what I mean, left winger. Yeah. What else do they have, Ron, that's going to possibly help them, make it back to the playoffs?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think they're getting back to the playoffs. They're relying on Ovechkin, Backstrom, who has been injured on and off, mostly on.
And again, 35.
Mantha. Okay, let's put this in perspective.
Oshie, 36.
Right. Backstrom, Mantha, and Ovechkin is your top line, correct? They have a combined 60 goals.
And Ovechkin.
That's including Ovechkin.
Yeah, how many of those are Ovechkins, right? Yeah.
Right?
What's he getting? 40, 50 goals?
I think it was 42,
yeah.
50, somewhere in there. It was ridiculous, right?
Oh.
Look, I don't. Kuznetsov, Milano, Wilson, Tom Wilson, another one, right? He's aging. Like, these are all guys that are their key players, and they're all old. They're going to break down at different moments, and Wilson is also coming off of injuries, from last season. Like, this team
Ovechkin missed some time last year as well, right? He missed a couple weeks last year.
Yeah.
Ovechkin. So, again,
John Carlson is their top defensive, 9 goals, 20 assists. That's not enough for him.
Yeah. And 33 years old.
Yeah, he has to be better. Look, Darcy Kemper, he won with the Colorado, right?
Yeah,
he won with Colorado. He didn't have to be good, and it's like.
Yeah, long-term injury, Picciarelli.
I don't know. He had a losing record last year, 22 and 26, 908, 2.87 goals against average. But yeah, you're losing. And Lindgren, forget it, 899. Oh, he's not even good. But he had at least a winning record. But Washington is going to digress again.
Yeah, listen,
So
it's an aging team, and they didn't build any. They
yeah,
got nothing
they're
young.
not going to be a good team this year.
Yeah, yeah. All right. What about the Philadelphia Flyers, Ron? Philadelphia, coached by John Tortorella, 31, 38, and 13 last season, 2.8 goals for, 3.37 goals against. Worst power play team in the league last year, 15.6%
Yes,
from the power
and
play.
that is with some talent.
Yeah. And then big pickup there was Garnett Hathaway, 2 years, 4.75 million. The right winger obviously was with Boston. Your thoughts on this team, Ron? Are they on in a direction to at least improve?
No. No, it's going to get ugly, in fact. This team is terrible. Like, I'm looking at Farabee, Couturier, and Forster is their first line. Combined 18 goals last year because Couturier is a rookie, and he's probably the best player on the team. This is not a good team.
He's a rookie?
Tippett had 27 goals, Frost 19, Lawton 18, and Konechny 31, scattered throughout the lineup. I mean, it's not good. I don't like this team at all. Their defense there's nobody that stands out on defense. Mark Stahl is probably the only guy that is any good that
Yeah, and he's 36, so you're just looking at a guy that's
look at those
and the
Carter
goaltender.
Hart, the goaltender Hart, 907 save percentage, 2.94. That's going to take a hit this year because they're going to be bad. That defense in front of him is going to be bad.
So Flyers, no improvement. You think worse?
Yeah.
All right. What about the next team, Columbus Blue Jackets? 25, 48, and 9 last season. 2.54 goals for, 4 goals against average. Pascal Vincent, new head coach there. They were the bottom end of both power play and penalty kills. Didn't see any big ads here as well either. What are your thoughts on the Columbus Blue Jackets? So they have some talent. But it didn't come together at all.
Actually.
Yeah, it didn't come together at all. So, Gaudreau, again, very good forward. So what's wrong with this team, Ron? How do they get better?
Well, the start of it is they have Severson, 7 goals, 26 assists at the blue line. He was a +9. He is the only defenseman that was a plus. Okay, so he gets the job done. It's just everybody else after him is just not getting the job done. And I'm going to pick on former Bruin, Sean Corrali, -28 last season. What are you doing to get a -28 when you're playing 7 minutes a game? What are you doing? Because you're not stopping anybody. That's for damn sure. His line mate Robinson was a -21. So that line is just brutal. It's brutal. And, the third line and the fourth line combined 49 goals for the entire season. That's what they're looking at. Their first 2 lines are pretty good, but they're all minuses pretty much. I mean, nobody's playing any defense whatsoever. They're not covering anybody in their own zone. And until you start doing that, you're going to keep losing.
Elvis is in the building, though.
He is in the building, and he doesn't need to be. With the numbers 4.23, 876.
I think we could do better than that. Probably not, but
why not just sit on the bench and play with an extra player?
Yeah. Just go 6. Put
That's
6 on the ice.
You're a hole.
Let the defense. You're a hole. Oh, that's a good one. You're a hole.
Elvis, what the hell happened? He lost his talent.
Yeah.
All overnight. This is not the skinny Elvis. This is the fat Elvis right here.
We are going to go on to the Atlantic, my friend. We are on the last division in the Eastern Conference. And those teams are the Boston Bruins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers, Buffalo
Hey, they
Sabres.
got all 8.
Yeah, they do. Ottawa Senators, Detroit Red Wings, and the Montreal Canadiens. We will do the Bruins last, even though they were the best team last year in this division, because we just probably will have a little more to cover when it comes to Boston. So let's start off with the Toronto Maple Leafs, 50, 21, and 11. 3.39 goals for, 2.67 goals against. They were the second best power play team in the league last year, 26%. They are coached by Sheldon Keefe. And they added some big pieces here, Ron. Tyler Bertuzzi, 1 year, 5.5 million, the left winger, obviously from Boston. John Klingberg, 1 year, 4.15 million. And then Max Domi, 1 year, 3 million, left winger from Dallas. So looks like they tried to get some of these big name guys on 1 year deals, see if they could put it all together, Ron. Do you have hopes? Obviously, Austin Matthews.
Do I have hopes?
That this collection of what they added can possibly help them. Obviously, they've got one of the top stars in the league when you talk about Matthews. Tavares on this team as well. Mitchell Marner, again, another
I'll
guy
tell
that
you
can
what I
score.
do like, Eric. I like the grit they added because there was too much fluff, right?
Yeah,
You have
no,
all those goal scorers and everything is all rosy until you get to the playoffs, and then the fluff is not there because you have to play really good teams every day, right?
yeah.
But I do like the fact that they got Max Domi, they got Tyler Bertuzzi, and took him away from Boston.
Listen, I thought Bertuzzi was probably their best player on Boston in that playoff series.
Yes, I agree with that.
So again, you're looking at a guy that in big moments can make a difference.
Right, even though he still lost.
Wasn't his fault.
No, it wasn't his fault.
Okay.
He did his job. And actually, I believe Taylor Hall did his job. It's funny how both of them got shipped
Go
out.
on. Yeah. The guys that did produce. But anyway, we will get to Boston. So, again, added grit, goaltending wise, Samsonov is that
you got to
kind of,
hope he does the same thing, right? I mean, if he does the same thing, it's all fine and dandy regular season. But again, playoff time is different. He did not have those same numbers in the playoffs. So 919, 2.33, 27 and 10. Fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playoffs are different.
Yeah.
Playoffs are different.
What about Klingberg on the defensive side?
Yes, and that is the improvement, right? I'm looking at this defense core and Morgan Riley, and Brody. So you got a guy, Morgan Riley, more offensive talent, 4 goals, 37 assists, -9. But he's paired with Brody, 2 and 12 with 10. So it's looking like they're going to put a good defensive player on with a good offensive player on because McCabe plus 19 going with Klingberg, who is a -25. Now the Klingberg thing, he was on a bad team, so maybe that is going to be the pairing that you really need to watch because I think Klingberg is a much better player than what it showed last year, and I think that's the one to watch, that pairing.
And again,
then
this team,
Giordano and Lil Jagrin.
Lil John.
So
What? Yeah.
Those two guys, and look, this is the third pairing, right? How are those guys a +29 and a +24? Like, if you're the third pairing and that's what you were last year, that is incredible. So this team, is going to have a lot of horses on defense this year. And
They've got the offensive guys.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, again, health was a concern here too because Matthews missed some time last year. So again, can he stay healthy for the full season? Because we know what he can do.
Yeah, and they're hoping Reeves is that guy on that fourth line that really grits it out and grinds down the defense. And look, if they're ever going to have a year,
this might be the one.
This is the one.
So maybe I
Because
was
they
a year
might not
behind
have
on
it
my
next
pick
year.
because last year I picked them to win it all. Maybe I was a year behind. Let's see.
A year ahead.
I'm a year behind though. I was
No,
like
ahead.
last
You
year.
picked them last year.
I'm not picking them this year. I'm
Oh.
already giving you an insight
Oh.
into it. I did not pick them to win it all this year. All right, my friend. Let's talk about a team that obviously has been there, done that many times. Tampa Bay Lightning. We knew that run at some point was going to come to an end, but can they make another run? 46, 30, and 6 last year, 3.41 goals for, 3.07 goals against, coached by probably one of the best coaches in the NHL right now, John Cooper. Third overall in the power play, 25.4%, which again, really good. Didn't see any big ads here as well either. Ron, age starting to become a concern here. Right? Wear and tear. They've been in the playoffs a long time, a lot of hockey being played by some of these guys. Can they get back? Is there one more run left in this team?
Yeah. I think they no. I've been wavering on this team because I do like the core of this team. The problem is not having Vasilevsky there for a little while.
2 months? Over 2 months, they
And
said.
I'm not confident in the guy that's played 2 games.
Yeah. No,
I
they
mean, let's
rightly
be
said.
real.
Don't have much. Yeah.
Like the 2
Tompkins and
games is all fine,
Johannesson.
but now you're going to have to play a lot of games in this division where
You're
you
gonna have
have
to
to play all these teams.
high scoring teams.
I'm sorry. The only easy game you can see is really Montreal. And I'm sorry, Montreal.
Yeah.
But not.
Stamkos free agent after this year, so we may
Yeah.
be seeing the end of that dynasty. So again, to your point, I think that injury is so crucial right now that nobody's even talking about it.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
consider them to get through, and I don't think they can overcome that.
the proof is in the numbers. Like when you look at Braden Point, 51 goals, Stamkos 34, and Kucherov 30. 115 goals by that line, right? That's what you're expecting to get this year, right? 46 for the second line. That's a big drop off. And then 32 for the third line.
Yeah.
I don't think they have enough firepower.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think they have enough depth. They've lost too many guys.
And again, you're probably going to be giving up 3.5 to 4 goals a game.
Yeah.
Where you need to score. So yeah, no, I see where you're coming from, my friend. Hey, it was a great run though, regardless.
It was a great run, but
Right?
I think this season it's done.
Let's talk about your favorite team last year, and that's the Florida Panthers. 42, 32, and 8. 3.51 goals for, 3.32 goals against. Top 10 in the power play at 22.8. Couple of ads here. Evan Rodriguez, 4 years, $12 million, left winger from Colorado, and Nico Mikola, defenseman from the Rangers.
Pretty good, Mikola.
That was Mikola. 3 years, 7.5 million. Obviously, we know the run they made, Ron. Can they do it again? Is this a team now that has some confidence to say, look, we can do it?
Yeah, they actually, when you look at they added guys, right? I mean, outside of Mike Riley, who's going to play on the third pairing, who's offensively talented, but getting Ekman Larson, that is a big pickup. He's going to be playing on that second pairing, and when you look at that defense that they just redid, the second and third pairings, that added with Evan Rodriguez. Rodriguez had 16 goals last year, but he's now going to be playing with Barkov and Verhaeghe. That's 42 goals for Verhaeghe and 23 for Barkov. That's going to be a nice line. And then, of course, you have Kachuk on that second line. Doesn't matter who's going to be with him; they're gonna reap the benefits because that man just doesn't stop. You know, I think balance
About his
wise, I think
playoff.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, Kachuk's playoff. I mean, he was the guy every game. It was like Matthew Kachuk was making some kind of play in all the series,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, no, look, I think the biggest thing is obviously the confidence. Now you know you can do it. You know
I
you
don't
have
even
a
think it's
team
that.
capable.
I think it is kind of saving Bobrovsky. I think I'm looking at Stolars as their backup, 897 save percentage, 3.73. They need a guy that comes in there and plays half the games. That guy isn't going to do it. You
Yeah,
can't use Bobrovsky every game,
yeah,
and he's just going to wear down. And I think you need to keep him fresh, and you need to get him ready for the playoffs, and you need to
35-year-old
give him some
goaltender. Yeah,
time off.
yeah, 35-year-old goaltenders. Sometimes
Right.
they need a
So
little more
that
rest.
is that is the only thing I worry about Florida, because when Bobrovsky came in against the Bruins, he was fresh. He had time off because basically he lost his job, and then he was lights out.
Yeah, yeah,
So
he got into the
you
playoffs too
can't you
much.
can't play him too much. You can't play him too much. Simple as that.
All right, Buffalo Sabres, 42-33-7 last year, 3.57 goals for, 3.62 goals against. Top 10 team in power play, 23.4. They are coached by Don Granato. Couple of key ads here. Connor Clifton, 3 years, 10 million. Defenseman from Boston. And Eric Johnson, 1 year, 3.25 million. Defenseman from Colorado. Thoughts on the Buffalo State, right? They were almost the team that got in. Kind of, again, have some pieces now. They started to come together, right? We started to see some things. Can they make enough of a push this year to get into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think they could actually. I like Tage Thompson. He's really good.
Yeah,
47 goals last season. What a player. He is just dynamic. He takes up a lot of space too. The long reach. So he could be just as dangerous defensively, turn the puck over and bring it in and score easily. So he's got that long reach that if he picks off a pass going across the ice, he's in alone and he's scoring. And you add that with Skinner's shooting ability and Tuck. Um, I mean, that's they had 118 goals combined last season, and then Cousins with 31, Olsen with 28. That's a great second line right there, and they just need to find somebody as role players in that third and fourth lines to try to get the job done in the playoffs.
yeah.
This team is going to be pretty good. Kind of Clifton, who is really solid defensively. He really struggled in the playoffs last season and was a big part of that collapse. But look, there's not many people that hit as hard, and he's going to make his presence felt on this Buffalo team. That is a great pickup for them. Yeah, he's a third line a third pairing defenseman.
Toughness.
Yes, I get it. But that toughness is going to bring in something for this team, and they could feed off of it. And I think they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah. Only concern, right? Maybe goaltending. What's it, Comrie?
Well, yeah, they got this
Comrie?
kid Levi who went 5-2. He has a 905 save percentage. So again, it's like that same thing we were talking about before with somebody that played 2 games. He doesn't have much more than that. He has 7. So we'll see how he does. Um, I mean, it's up to that defense. Like, I like Samuelson and Darlene together. I mean, they have some guys that can play, and I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I think the goaltending is going to be just good enough to get in.
Ottawa Senators here, 39, 35 and 8, 3.16 goals for, 3.29 goals against. Top 10 again in power play, 22.2%, which was 8th overall. DJ Smith is their coach. A couple of big signings there. They got Tarasenko, so Vladimir Tarasenko, 1 year, $5 million, right winger from the Rangers, and Johannes Korpisalo, 5 years, $20 million, the goalie from the Kings. So
Yeah.
trying to shore up that position.
Right.
Thoughts on the Senators? I mean, they've got some talent. We talked about them last year, and we thought that they were going to be better, right? Brady Tkachuk.
The organization, like, really looked at it like they wanted to make a push. It was clear because of the guys they signed, right?
Claude Giroux, right? We talked about them picking him up last year.
And, when it was so disappointing and you saw flashes of this team throughout the season where there were some games they were just so good. And one of those games I remember being against the Bruins, and they played so well. It's like, why couldn't they sustain it? So they made a couple of tweaks, right? They went out, got Vladimir Tarasenko, and that is a big pickup, 18 goals last season, and for his standards, that's a down year, right? So now they're hoping, maybe he'll bounce back. And then they went out and got Korpisalo because they thought they had their goaltender last year, and not so much. So they went out and got Korpisalo, and 914 save percentage, 2.87 goals against. He's good. He's a good goaltender, and that's going to be the guy. And you have Forsberg there as the backup, and I think that's a good tandem. I think Ottawa's on the verge. I think they could even pass up Tampa Bay this year.
Yeah, especially that injury. You can't discard that injury. That, you know what I mean? You lose your top goaltender.
Right,
who's a top 5
behind it.
And he's not a goaltender. You go, okay, well, he's good. No, he's great, and that could definitely play a factor in this.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Detroit Red Wings, Ron. 35, 37, and 10 last year, 2.89 goals for, 3.35 goals against. Derek Lalonde is their coach. The couple of key ads here. JT Compher, 5 years, $25.5 million, a center from Colorado. Shane Gotzenbeer, 1 year.
Gots to be here.
Gots to
Bear.
Gots the Bear. That's what I said, because you corrected me last time when I said Gots to be here, because that's how it's
that's
spelled.
why I said that. Gots to be here.
Yeah. 1 year, $4.125 million, defenseman from Carolina, and then Justin Hall, 3 year, $10.2 million, another defenseman from Toronto. Do you like what this team has done, Ron? Is this another team that kind of disappointed last year? We thought they might have been a little bit better, and with the additions, does that help them?
Look, I like the additions, but the problem is I think the problem is that third line. That's really the problem. Kopp and Fabry, you got to do better. I mean, they had 16 goals combined, and their talent is better than that.
Yeah.
And Kopp, 9 goals, really? Like, why is this guy, always getting picked up at the trade deadlines, and yet he never puts anything into a season? It seems like he's got all this talent. Everybody thought, he's so talented, but he never does anything. He never does anything, and here he is, got 9 goals last year. Why? Why is he like one of those guys that everybody goes after? Well, he's the reason for their demise. This is basically what I'm saying. Kopp and Fabry are the reason for your demise.
They've got some talent, right? DeBrincat.
Look, that first line is good. Larkin.
Sherratt, a defenseman. Again, another good defenseman. So they've got.
Yeah, but he was a minus 31.
They played poorly. I agree with you.
Minus 31. Like,
What about
stop
goaltending
somebody.
here? Goaltending could be a concern as well. Husso?
Oh God, yeah, they picked up Reamer. Woo! Wow, you're really trying to make grounds on the Atlantic, right? Like, come on, like really, he's terrible. 890 save percentage, 3.48. He went 12 and 21. That's pretty good. Let's get him. Let's get him.
Yeah,
And he's going to back up our number one goaltender, Huso, who 896 save percentage with 3.11 goals against average. Yeah, that's just a great tandem. Great tandem.
yeah.
Good job, Detroit. Just disappointing.
So no hope for them as well. You don't think?
No, they stink.
All right. Well, let's
They
talk
went,
about the.
I think they actually went backwards the last couple of years.
Let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens. 31, 45, and 6.
Speaking of
2.7
backwards,
goals for, 3.72 goals against. 29th in both power play and penalty kills last year. Martin St. Louis is their head coach. No big additions here, Ron. Obviously, we know some of the struggles too. Carey Price, I don't know if he'll ever come back.
I wouldn't if I was him.
Is there any hope for this team to see something different than we saw last season?
You're going to see all the same. It's all the same. You're going to see lots of losses, lots of bad goaltending, no offense, lots of goals in your own net. I mean, but it is sad. I'm a Bruins fan and I hate Montreal, but it is sad to see this franchise is this pathetic. It's pathetic. It is actually it's an embarrassment. I think this is a prominent
franchise. This isn't
franchise. Like you can't let it sit like this year after year. But that's where it's heading. Like, this is terrible. Like, do something. Get somebody that knows talent. I mean, because I'm not seeing it. Like, Suzuki, 26 goals. Caulfield, 26 goals. And then it's Anderson with 21. Newhook, 14. Doc, 14. This is just anemic. This is the worst team in hockey. Again.
Yeah. No. I agree with you. Listen, haven't changed much. Your definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I think that's what you're kind of seeing. All right. Well, that's all the teams in the Eastern Conference. So we're going to talk a little bit about the players, notable free agents.
Really? You think that's going to rile me up?
I wanted to see if
you think it's going to rile me up. I knew what you were doing.
All right, let's talk about.
I was just going to go, oh, yeah, that's it. That's
go. That's it. We're done. Go home. Let's talk about that last team now. That is the Boston Bruins, my friend. 65, 12, and 5 last year. Obviously, the best record in NHL history. Plus 128 in the point differential. 3.66 goals for, 2.12 goals against. They were the number one penalty killing team in the league last year, 87.3%. Coached by Jim Montgomery. Big ad, Morgan Geekie, the center from Seattle, 2 years, $4 million. Obviously, some big losses, right? We talked about some retirements, Krejci and Bergeron. They still have some talent on this team, Ron. Obviously, yes. The expectation that they had set is not going to be the same, but you still have Pastrnak, who's considered one of the best goal scorers in the league. Brad Marchand, who's now the captain. Charlie McAvoy, right? Lindholm, who's still a top defenseman. What do you need to see from this team for them to be successful? We are not going to see 65 wins. Making the playoffs, is that a legitimate goal now for the Boston Bruins with some of the losses?
Look, I mean, if the Bruins organization has always taken pride on there's no excuses, right? You go out there, you do what you have to do.
John, thanks for joining. It's Bergeron, it's Patrice.
And I think this team is, it's Bergeron, it's Patrice. Yes. but he's not going to be there. But you know what? I think that the team is actually in pretty good hands because I'm not really worried about the Krejci loss. And I like Krejci as a player, but Pavel Zacha is going to be just as good, if not better, than Krejci. You know, and I truly believe that. I mean, he's going to be centering a line with Pasternak, right? So you can't be horrible, right? You just pass the
Hope so.
puck to him,
Yeah.
and he's going to one time it, and he's going to score. So you get him the puck, you cause some confusion, and you're going to get your numbers. And he had 25 goals, 36 assists last season. I have complete confidence that that spot is going to be intact. And I'll tell you, everybody is discounting Van Riemsdyk. I mean, he got 12 goals, 17 assists on a very bad Philadelphia team. He's going to do better. And frankly, I think he's going to be just as good as Bertuzzi is on that line. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be 25 goals plus. All right. All right. Now you have Marchand and DeBrusque. Here's where the changes are. All right. Obviously, you don't have Patrice Bergeron there, but you're going to have Charlie Coyle. What Charlie Coyle can bring to the table is puck control. There aren't many players that are as good as Charlie Coyle is controlling the puck. Okay, he's got a long reach. The thing that he has to remember is to shoot. That's been the problem with Charlie Coyle in his career. Or he'd be a 30-goal scorer. He's got a nice shot. He needs to shoot. But he's not going to win the faceoffs like Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah.
That is where they're going to lack, and that is why they're going to take, obviously, steps back because they won't have those faceoffs. Hopefully, Zacha and Coyle have learned something from Bergeron in that department. I'm hoping.
So
But
a lot of talk. So obviously, it's our local team. So you get a lot of talk. Poitras, they're really high.
This kid looks like the real deal, man. I know it's only preseason. The kid's 18, and they're already comparing him to Bergeron. He's not Bergeron. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Be real.
Yeah, you know how that goes.
He actually could be as talented offensively as Bergeron.
At some point, yeah.
But let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, give the kid some time.
If this kid gives you 25 points this season, you take it. Third line, you take it. I think he can do better because he's got Frederick on his line, and it looks like it's going to be Morgan Geekie. And Geekie is a good player to have there because he's got some experience. He's one of those Bergeron-esque type of players. He's not offensively gifted like Bergeron.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Just mentally,
but he's going to bring that kid along and make sure he's in the right positions. And he had a great training camp.
Yeah,
he had the
really
most goals on the team.
And honestly, listen, if you look at the defensemen that this team still has, from McAvoy, Lindholm, Krejci, Grzelcyk, you know what I mean? They're still pretty stout when it comes to defensemen.
This is a great defensive team. And I'll put it in the category as Carolina and Islanders, more leaning towards the Islanders side because, look, Carolina had offense everywhere from that defense. You don't have all of those guys. Like Forber is not offensively gifted. Carlo is not offensively gifted. But these guys are all solid. I think those three teams are the best defensive teams in the league. They are stacked from top to bottom. When Shattenkirk is your sixth guy, that's saying something. And I'll tell you, defensively, I think they're going to still be there. Goaltending-wise, I think it's still going to be there because these guys are good in front of their net. Whether that translates into the playoffs, we don't know. Mm-hmm. It didn't last year. So they made changes. This team made changes.
We talked about the big losses, obviously, this season. right? We know, and you're not going to replace a Patish Bergeron, but that window is closing too because DeBrusk's up, Grizzlick's up after this season. So there's some guys that have been key on this team for a few years now that you may have to replace and
Yeah,
get
and
even younger. So
it's Grizzly may not even be there by the end of the season.
yeah, and I will say this, Ron, and I'm not trying to be the black cloud over this team because I'd like to see them do well. But I also felt like Linus Olmark did stuff that we've never seen him do before. And I'm not sure if that was just a culmination of everything that was around. Can he be that same guy? Or does
Yeah, and
Swayman
that's
finally take
again a legitimate question because he's never been this good,
yeah?
right?
And that's
I
my
mean, we were
concern. Like,
talking about it last year. I
yeah,
was really hard on Omar.
yeah, like he looked like one of those top guys that we always Patrick Roars and
Right,
all these top goaltenders. You're like, this guy's unbelievable. And
right.
the numbers he put up was phenomenal.
Yep.
But again, do we see it again? I don't know. I'm not sure, and that scares me a little bit with this team.
And this is another thing. You know, we talked about Bruce Cassidy going there. He was the right coach at the right time, right? And Jim Montgomery is here now, and it's actually good for the team too because he's good with younger players.
Yeah.
And the veterans kind of take care of themselves, and the veterans kind of let them down last year, right? When you really think about it, the veterans didn't really do their job in the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's the knock on this team right now.
And we talk about. Go ahead.
No, you infuse these kids like Poitras and Beecher and Lauco, and now going to be, part of this team, and hopefully changes it, to bring up these kids, and you still have, 3 or 4 guys in the minors that could take those spots, like I can't think of his name, the Russian Mikulov or whatever his name is. He's got talent too, and of course you have Lysell. You have some guys down there that have skill, and they could be on their way to Boston if these guys start falling off.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you bring in, look, we said it last year when the Bruins went out, they got bullied, right?
Yeah.
So they held on to Forbert, which everybody expected them to let him go. But he's a big boy, and what did they do? Hathaway didn't do his job in the playoffs. He let them get bullied.
Mm-hmm.
So they went out and they got Lucic. And yes, he's not the same player as he was early. But what he still brings is toughness. He's not going to let them get bullied. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Because now Frederick's not alone.
Yeah.
Frederick was alone.
No, I gotcha. Listen, before and we'll end on one note, and you maybe again when I was talking about that black cloud, does the season they had and the disappointment in the playoffs play a factor though mentally with some of these guys? Like you think about winning 65 games and looking like you were unbeatable, and then getting to the playoffs and losing in 7, but not even. I will say this: the way they lost, Ron. And we talked about it.
It was degrading.
It was, yes, because they just looked like they were outplayed 7 games. The games they won, it was still not like they looked like a dominant team.
No.
Does that play a factor mentally, you think, on how they play this season? Like, do they look at it differently and say, look, it doesn't matter how we play because look at what happened in the playoffs? Do you not think that may be a factor for them?
All right. So I'm going to it's probably going to be an insult to those players that aren't there. And I'm not talking Krejci and Bergeron because those guys left because of retiring.
Yeah.
The guys that aren't there, look, when that last game happens and they go in, they clear out their lockers some point in that week, there is an exit conversation between coaching staff and players. And there was probably something said in all of those things on whose mind is right. Look,
Yeah. Who are we going to invest
I'm
in?
looking at Pasternak. There's no way he's down on himself. I'm looking at Marchand. There's no way, because there is nobody that stops, working hard.
Yeah.
Marchand puts everything out there on the ice. And then you start picking off players. Look, Hall, was he really? I mean, he was good. Like I'm not saying he wasn't good in the playoffs, but does he strike you as a guy that may have some negative things to say? I don't know, but they were really quick to trade him away. They could have gone the route, hey, let's trade Forbert, let's trade Grzelcyk, let's trade Carlo. We have a bunch of defensemen coming up, and that's the easy thing to do because your defense is so good, right? But nope, they went Hall, they went Connor Clifton, we're not re-signing you. Look, to me, you got rid of Clifton, who was bad. He was bad. And I'm just saying there's games that I see that Hall takes off.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. All right. That is the breakdown on all the teams. We're going to go through a couple of quick notable free agents. You're going to let me know what you think. Are they going to sign? Then we're going to give you our playoff predictions, the teams that we say are going to get in, how we're going to get to the Stanley Cup finals, and then our winner. So Ron, couple notable free agents here. Right winger Patrick Kane is gonna sign. Is this a late?
I'm guessing that mid-season he'll sign with somebody.
He's gonna look for a team that is a contender. You think,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, he's not gonna sign until he knows who's contending.
Yeah. Jonathan Taos.
I mean, I think with him, it's just a matter of finding a job.
But will sign in probably earlier than later.
It could be one of those things that he re-signs with Chicago if they're close.
Okay. Jonathan Quick.
He did re-sign with somebody.
He ended up signing. Okay.
It was with, I thought it was the. Hold on. He signed with somebody. I know that. I think it was in the Eastern Conference. New York Rangers. Backup.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's a good one. All right. Phil Kessel.
That's a tough one. I don't. It depends on how much left he has in the tank, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's up there.
Yeah, it'd be a minimal deal, right? And probably just something, maybe somebody injury.
With a contender, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul Stastny.
He'll resign with somebody.
Okay.
I think it's just wanting what he wants, and he'll go somewhere. Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in like Colorado or something like that.
All right. So just a couple notable free agents that are still out there.
Good players too.
All right, my friend. So how do you want to start this off? We'll go Eastern Conference, Western Conference.
Do West first.
West first. So we'll go Central. Our 4 teams in the Central.
Yes.
All right. So I went the 1 seed will be the Dallas Stars, Colorado Avalanche at 2, Minnesota Wild at 3, and Nashville Predators at 4. They sneak in.
All right. So I have. Oh, wait a minute. Did you just do what division?
Central.
All right. Central division, because I just did it in lump sum.
I can do all 8 if you want me to do all 8.
No. I just got to find my Central division. So I have Dallas, Colorado.
No, stop it.
What?
Minnesota. Are we going to do this again? Two shows in a row where
Dallas,
we get the same
Colorado, Minnesota, Nashville.
Wow. Okay. So we had that the same. In the Pacific, I had Vegas Golden Knights, Edmonton Oilers, Seattle Kraken, Los Angeles Kings.
I have Vegas, Edmonton, LA,
Okay.
and I have Calgary.
Okay. All right. So okay, we're different there.
But
All right.
but
East.
that one is a big drop off
Yeah.
from LA to Calgary.
Yeah. East in the Atlantic. I have Toronto. Don't release the Kraken. Yes, don't release the Kraken. Good one, John. Um, in the East, I have Toronto. In the Atlantic, sorry, Toronto, Florida, Detroit, Buffalo. I know you're gonna have Boston in it, but I don't.
I have Toronto, Florida, Boston, Buffalo.
Okay.
Detroit isn't. I wouldn't even put Detroit ahead of Ottawa or Tampa Bay. Maybe Tampa Bay.
All right, we'll see. Metro, I had Carolina, Islanders, Penguins, Rangers.
Ooh, this is we're way off on. I have Carolina, New York Rangers, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we just the Islanders I have, and you don't.
The Islanders are the team. If Pittsburgh has injuries, the Islanders will jump in.
Yeah. All right. So in the West, I got Dallas versus Nashville, Colorado versus Minnesota, Vegas versus the Kings, and Edmonton versus Seattle in the playoffs in the first round.
All right. So I have Dallas versus Calgary. Should we give the winner of them?
You want to do it that way?
Yeah, we should.
Okay, so Dallas versus Nashville, I have Dallas winning it. And Colorado versus Minnesota, I have Colorado. Vegas versus the Kings, I have Vegas. And Edmonton versus Seattle, I have Edmonton.
All right, so I have Dallas beating Calgary, Vegas beating Nashville, Colorado beating LA, and Minnesota beating Edmonton.
Wow. Okay. I thought about Edmonton and then I pulled it back. So that means I had in my second round Dallas versus Colorado. I have Dallas winning that. And then Vegas versus Edmonton. The run ends for Vegas. We're going Edmonton.
All right. So I have Dallas beating Minnesota.
Okay.
I have Colorado beating Vegas.
Okay. All right. So in my Western Conference Finals, I have Dallas versus Edmonton. And Connor McDavid gets to the Stanley Cup. Edmonton beats Dallas.
I have Dallas defeating Colorado to get into the Stanley Cup.
Okay. All right. So in the East, got Toronto versus Buffalo. I have Toronto winning. Florida versus Detroit. I got Detroit winning. Carolina versus the New York Rangers. Carolina. New York Islanders versus Pittsburgh. I got New York Islanders.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have Carolina beating Buffalo, Toronto beating Pittsburgh, New York Rangers beating New Jersey, and I have Boston beating Florida.
Okay. You just hope that happens. Let's be honest. You really want to see Boston beat Florida. Okay. So I have in the second round, I got Toronto versus Detroit and Carolina versus the Islanders. I have Toronto defeating Detroit and Carolina defeating the Islanders.
Okay. I have Carolina beating Boston.
Okay.
And I have the Rangers beating Toronto.
Okay. We're still, you know what? We're kind of close on some of this, even though it's not the same as the football. If you check our NFL preview, it was pretty crazy to see.
Craziness.
So in the Eastern Conference Finals, I have Toronto versus Carolina. I have the Hurricanes coming out and going to the Stanley Cup.
Pretty good. I that was my original plan, having Carolina win, but I think the Rangers are going to beat Carolina.
Wow, okay.
In the finals there.
You'll make
and the
somebody very
Rangers
happy.
go to the Stanley Cup versus Dallas.
Okay. I got Carolina versus Edmonton in the Stanley Cup.
Certainly could happen.
Okay. And my winner, are you ready? The Stanley Cup champions for the 2023-24 season, Carolina Hurricanes. McDavid still does not get his cup. Carolina comes out and wins.
Especially when he's going to get eliminated in the first round.
Or in the Stanley Cup finals. Okay.
I have the Rangers losing to Dallas.
Dallas winning it.
The Stanley Cup.
Wow,
okay. Winning it.
That is a surprise.
And it's going to be a grinding 7-game series. And I think that Dallas is going to be home team. So that is why I go with Dallas winning it.
I like it.
7.
That's a very good one. Very good one. So this has been our 2023 NHL preview show. We are Sports Unfolded. We are on every Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Kick, you name it, we're on it. So join us live during our shows. We are fan interactive. We've had some great participation tonight as well. James, Kenny, John, thank you for joining. Follow us on all our social media platforms. We are on everything and anything. So from Facebook, Twitch, Twitter,
John, join us Friday and get on those prediction charts.
Get on the prediction chart, John. We do a prediction every week where we pick some of the top games and see how you compare versus us. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Like and follow us. Share our show. We appreciate it. Love doing hockey. We will have our NHL top 10 coming out next week. Yep. We're excited about that. Our NFL comes out every Tuesday. So you stay tuned for that. And then NBA preview show and NBA top 5 will be out within the next month as well. So we've got a lot going on. Everything's finally picking up again back in sports. So we're excited.
You don't want to miss Friday because, there's going to be a rant.
Yeah, there'll be some good stuff coming out of Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in for that. Ron, as always, my hockey guy, thank you for all your insight tonight. It's been amazing. Can't wait to get the season underway. Tomorrow night, NHL drops the puck on a new season. So excited to be able to see it, talk about it each and every week. And tune in. If you guys love hockey, we definitely cover some hockey. We have a lot of great segments when it comes to hockey as well. Ron, I will see you on Friday night, my friend. You take care. Everybody out there live, thank you for joining. Anybody who's going to watch us afterwards, just continue to share our show. And all we ever ask for every single show is peace on earth.
Have a good night, everybody.